It has weathered the worst of storms and stood its ground against the odds. A true survivor.
Why the Hilux refuses to die. There's a truck that's been buried in an erupting volcano, sat on top of a demolished building, dropped in the ocean and set on fire. And every single time it started, this is a Toyota Hilux. The truck that mercenaries, farmers, and TV presenters all agree on for the same reason. Today, we're separating the legend from the engineering, because the real story is stranger than the myth. Reputation, the Top Gear origin story. The Hilux's modern legend really took off in 2003, when a British car show took a 20-year-old diesel Hilux and tried to kill it on camera. They drove it into the sea. They dropped a caravan on it. They set it on fire. They demolished a building with it still inside. Why it stuck? Every time, the crew pulled it out, and with a little coaxing, the engine turned over. That single episode did more for the Hilux's reputation than any advertising budget ever could. But a TV stunt doesn't explain 40 years of use in the world's harshest terrain. For that, we have to look at what's actually under the metal, the engineering behind a myth to frame. Start with the bones. The Hilux rides on a fully boxed ladder frame chassis, not the unibody construction most passenger cars use. A ladder frame flexes and absorbs punishment separately from the cabin, so when one wheel drops into a pothole or a rock, the twisting force doesn't reach the passengers or the drivetrain the same way it would in a car body. The engine philosophy. Then there's the engine philosophy. Toyota historically understresses its diesel engines relative to their theoretical limits, lower compression ratios and conservative turbo boost than rivals chasing bigger horsepower numbers. Less stress over decades means fewer catastrophic failures. It's not the most powerful engine in its class. It's the one least likely to argue with you in the middle of nowhere. Over-engineering is culture. Toyota also has a decades-long testing culture that goes further than most manufacturers legally have to. Durability testing that stacks hundreds of thousands of kilometers of corrugated roads, extreme heat, and deep water fording onto prototypes before a single customer ever buys one. The Hilux isn't tough by accident. It's tough because Toyota assumes the worst-case customer and engineers for them, not for the average one. The proof in the field, the world's hardest testing ground. Forget the test track. The real proving ground has been conflict zones, farms, and disaster response for 40 years. Aid organizations and militaries across Africa and the Middle East have leaned on the Hilux specifically because parts are everywhere. Any local mechanic can fix it, and it keeps running with maintenance most trucks wouldn't survive. The volcano story. Top Gear didn't stop in 2003. Years later, they drove a Hilux to the edge of an active volcano and parked it in the path of the eruption. It got buried in ash and volcanic rock. They dug it out. It started. That's not a coincidence twice. That's a pattern. The honest counterpoint myth busting the myth. Now, the honest part, the Hilux isn't magic, and it isn't invincible. Rust has been a real issue on older frames in wet climates, and Toyota faced a major corrosion, recall on early 2000s North American models. Indestructible is marketing shorthand for something more accurate, exceptionally over-engineered, with a maintenance culture and parts network built around keeping alive, not a truck that defies physics. So why does the Hilux refuse to die? Because Toyota didn't build it for perfect roads or easy days. They built it for the world's worst conditions, where failure isn't just inconvenient, it's unacceptable. Every dent, every flood, every fire, every dig out, and every impossible restart tells the same story. This isn't a truck that defies physics. It's a truck engineered to survive them. And maybe that's why, after decades of punishment, the legend still refuses to die.